interested in taking things to the next level. You may be tired of doing the same things and getting the same results that you had before, getting chained down to your past and repeating those cycles. Well, I'm going to give you 3 simple tips that changed my life forever, help unlock the things that I enjoy doing, working out, running my own company, so on and so forth. And when I give you these 3 simple things, you're going to see that it's not something that you're going to have to work hard to achieve, go through any kind of suffering, or have to earn it. No, these 3 things are within you, and all that it requires is a bit of awareness to bring it up, and it will stick with you and it go with you each and every day. So anytime you become aware of these types of scenarios, you'll be able to guide yourself through anything that you could think of. It is the foundation for change. So I'm going to share those 3 things with you today, one by one. So let's hop into it. A quick share. I am a whiteboard kind of guy. The first thing, the space in between your thoughts. Some of you may have heard me talk about this on different videos, but it's a very, very important piece of this. It's the first of 3. It is the foundation to solving the way you approach things, the way you think about things, right? So let me break it down. Nowadays, we're constantly in an endless cycle of thoughts, right? Whether it be news, this, that, we're thinking. And then when we're almost done thinking, we're thinking some more. Many of us can't even go to sleep at night because our thoughts are still going, thinking. Now, thinking is useful, right? Thinking is the tool that we use to solve complex problems in life. However, the problem becomes is with the overthinking that we're facing today, many of us are confusing our problem solver for our identity, really thinking it's who we are, which is causing a lot of anxiety, a lot of doubt, right? A lot of sadness, when really and truly, a lot of that's not even necessary. Now, of course, we're humans, we're going to go through those things, but there is a better way. There's a more natural way. And that is the space in between your thoughts, right? If you look at your thoughts as clouds, something that just kind of comes and goes, right? Pay attention to your thoughts. Watch how they just come into your mind, and then they leave, and they follow another, right? Then another one pops up, leaves, and another one comes in, right? However, notice that space in between those thoughts, that space of comfort, that space of calm, that space of clarity, right? Where no sadness exists, where no anxiety exists. Oftentimes it takes us back to a sort of childlike comfort. We used to call it boredom back in the days, right? When we didn't really have anything to distract us. And then we get a little bit older and we start yearning for those moments, right? And it's an awareness. It's just a basic awareness, right? You think about it, stare with you, right? And you're like, wow, it's a chill space, right? That is the launching pad. That is your natural space. That actually is your identity. Not the thoughts. The thoughts were given to you. The thoughts were put into you. That calm that you're noticing with that general awareness in between the thoughts, that is you. So when you become aware of that, when you begin to relax in that space, that's when you begin to see, you see things a bit clearer. Things start to make a little bit more sense, right? It's a better place to operate from. It's a more optimal place to operate from, right? You want to be able to make your decisions from that place. You want to launch your problem solver into that space, right? So all it requires is just a bit of awareness, right? Now, the awareness may be brief initially, as you're probably seeing, because we're so conditioned to thinking. But once you become aware that there is that space, and that it takes nothing for you to be there, it becomes hard to forget. And you become more aware and more aware and more aware. Then next thing you know, that is your disposition. That is your foundation. That is the starting point to rewiring your brain, rewiring your mind, redefining who you are. The launch pad. That's number one. So we want to operate from that space. Number two, constructive versus non-constructive. What do I mean by that? Well, we want to be able to define for ourselves what is constructive and what is non-constructive, right? And the reason why I emphasize for ourselves is because we all need our individual code. What is a code? A code is something you're able to do over and over again and get the expected results every time. And we need that individually because we don't want to rest our code, right? Our internal compass on what was given from others. We want to be able to define that, right? We want to be able to define that from the space in between our thoughts, our relaxing point. So as we go through life, right, we want to consider, is what I'm going to do, is this going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect, right? Is the result of this going to be constructive or non-constructive, right? If it's going to be constructive, we want that. If it's going to be non-constructive, we don't want anything to do with that, right? This is how we're beginning to define ourselves, right? We want what's constructive for ourselves, whatever that may be. It's your individual code, right? For me, I have a software company. I have a family. I work out, right? If it will produce a constructive result for those things, I'm all in it. If it won't produce a constructive result for those things, probably not having it, right? So it's up to you to define. There's no right or wrong answer within that. I mean, unless you're, right, causing harm and things of those natures, but that's going to hash itself out amongst society. But really and truly, right, you're not even on that type of time because you're operating from the space in between your thoughts, a calm, relaxing place, defining what's constructive and non-constructive for you, right? And moving along that accord, right? So that's two. That's already two very basic things that's within you. Nothing you have to, like I said, strain over, earn, struggle, any of that. But let me take you to number three, whiteboard guy. Questions and answers. Now, in life, we're all on a quest, right? Consider life, we're just walking our path on our quest, just figuring this thing out, just figuring it out, taking in information piece by piece, using it, right, as we see fit, as it's constructive to us, right? We trust that because we're operating from a place of smooth disposition, right? The space in between our thoughts. We're using our thinking for problem solving, right? However, how do you solve problems? With questions and answers. There's no other known way of solving problems, right, without questions. See, many of us approach things from a place when we're in that pattern of thinking or pretending that we have all of the answers. We lead with answers, statements, assumptions, right? No. Now we want to lead with questions. Everything should be led with a question. Questions. Don't ever let anybody make you feel bad for having a question. Never let someone make you feel bad for having a question. Questions are a sign of intelligence. My background before I started my business was sales, right? I was doing sales for a very, very long time. And in fact, I still do sales because that's how you run a company, right? However, as a seller, when I go in and speak with the company, doesn't matter if it's the largest company in the world or the smallest company in the world, I need to figure out if this is a qualified opportunity for me to engage with. I need to know basic things, right? Are they going to be able to buy what I'm offering, right? Do they even want to buy what I'm offering, right? Is there going to be a time frame for along the lines of when they can buy what I'm offering, right? And then who here is going to buy it? And then how will the buying take place? These are all questions. These are all questions that need answers. It's very little to do with what I'm going to come in saying, because they'll just likely nod their head. But if I walk out of there knowing less or just as much as I knew when I came in, then there's no deal to be had. Well, the same thing with life. We can't come in acting as if we know everything. That's not going to benefit anyone at any time. Questions and then answers. You solve problems with questions and answers. You figure out what is constructive and non-constructive for you through questions and answers. Is what I'm going to do going to have a constructive effect? How is it going to have a constructive effect? How do I propose to do what it is I'm setting out to do that is going to have a constructive effect? And then ultimately, the most basic question, as I started at first, will what I'm going to do going to have a constructive result for me? Questions and answers. So let me break it down really quick. Very simple. 3 things that are already within you. You just have to have the general awareness to remember to do it, and you'll be locked in. It is an unlock, right? Operate from the space in between our thoughts. We want to understand our personal code in the sense of constructive, non-constructive. Nothing more, nothing less. Constructive, non-constructive. Questions and answers on this path. Our quest in life. Those 3 things. Rewire your mind. Redefine your life. Own your mind. I hope this helps. Love to hear about the results, so I'm going to keep coming with content. You can let me know in future videos, this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if it helps. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer. Make sure if this is helpful, you like and subscribe. Hopefully even drop a comment as well. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.